believe so.
Okay. Maybe we'll wait a couple of minutes.
The only one that I heard that couldn't make it was Richard.
Right.
And tonight too, Devin, or was that just this one?
He said tonight's meeting,
Okay.
so.
Oh, yeah, but he responded to the
To the communication,
Okay,
right?
I didn't even notice that. All right.
I guess, we can get started. So I'll call the meeting to order at 9:16. And we'll start with approval of minutes from the March 10th, 2021 meeting. So do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes for the March 10th, 2021 meeting. This is Sharon.
Thank you, Sharon. A second?
Ellen, second.
Okay. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? All right, so we're going to move on to subcommittee updates. I feel like we've been busy both within this committee and outside of the committee as we've just been planning everything. And Meg and Kat have, been leading those efforts with Ira and others. So we'll start with FHS Building Committee website updates. Do we have any additional updates to the website that we want to highlight?
I'll just say, I know we do have a little project status message up there. So Ira is working to edit that a little bit, and that's something that we're gonna look at probably once a week, and maybe we'll try to change that once a week. And he's just gonna send me the edited content, and then I'll go ahead and change that and make it live on the website.
And also we got the newsletter up there, right, digitally?
We do, that's correct. And our latest news section on the homepage, the March newsletter is included there.
That's great. I didn't realize we had it up there already. So everyone should take a look at that. It really does. I think it's visually pleasing, but also has a lot of additional content for residents. So I'm really excited about that going out to everyone. And I don't know if Ira has joined us yet. I don't see him here, so we'll skip Tall Timbers Marketing. Side-by-side photos. I know this is something that Ira was also working on, so I don't know if anyone has an update on the side-by-side photos.
I think we have a lot of the content, and we have a lot of the narrative to go with it. Right now, it's sort of in the stage where they're just refining the narrative and making sure that the pictures that we have are appropriate. And we did receive, I know, I think Scott just joined too. We have some feedback from a few teachers in the music department that are going to help with the narrative for the auditorium and the stage stuff. So I think that'll be helpful too. And hopefully we'll have this completed, if not by the end of this week, early next week, because we do have the side-by-side topic meeting next Thursday.
Hey, Devin, just to add on to that. So I went over it with our building leadership team this week as well as a part of our weekly meeting. And if there's other feedback, should I direct them to you or to Ira if they have other thoughts of things to maybe consider? Where would you like that to go?
Yeah, that'd be great. I think if you sent them to Ira and you could copy me on that too, that'd be great. And I can go ahead and mirror that on the website.
Great. All right. Thank you.
This is Ellen. I was just wondering about the and the side-by-side photo, the breakout areas. Are we struggling with a photo because we really don't have any? I mean, that could be a good one, like just a, in a hallway somewhere. I don't know.
Yeah. So.
But I don't see a photo. I don't see a photo yet.
Right. So for that area, I couldn't really find anything. So yeah, I kind of am struggling to find one. And then Ira is working on some narrative for that as well. So that's why there's no text for that one either.
It could be just a
lack of.
Could be a hall. It's definitely a lack of it, but it could be just
right.
a shares in a hallway.
Quick question.
Gotcha.
I feel like I remember part of the trouble with the cafeteria was as kids spilling into the hallways there. Is it possible that there's some photos, some past years where, you know, they're all sitting on the floor and that could represent some of that? Is that possible?
I thought we did have some pictures like that
Yeah,
somewhere.
that I would say, and Scott, you can correct me on this. When I think of a breakout, it's that you're in a classroom and you're moving out to another space to like complete a team project or something like that. So a lot of times that's kind of a social area, the space outside. It's like down the hall from the cafeteria. I would say that students will sit on the floor in the hallway to work on things. We might have pictures of that. The issue is no line of sight, and you know, you're really sending those students out to work and, you know, relying upon them to get that done. And that is certainly by high school a fair expectation to have students are really independent at that point and have been doing teamwork projects for a long time. But I would say that the line of sight is an issue, and you know, we could probably highlight that. We could probably get pictures of kids sitting in the hallway outside of a classroom, maybe.
Yeah, I'm thinking of like like our American Studies class or these other classes where, you know, kids are, you know, in corners, and it's just not a great setup. It's not, you know, we do the best we can with the space that we have, but it's not an ideal environment to have kids laying on the floor in the hallway or sitting on the floor against, you know, the walls and things like that in major thoroughfare areas. So I'm going to email that team right now and see if they have any photos of that work. I think that's where I recall them being there being
That
some.
sounds like the perfect photo.
Okay. Anything else with side-by-side photos? And social media updates, any updates related to social media? I know that the schools are trying to retweet whatever we receive. So whatever goes out from the building committee, we will retweet and make sure there's information out there. So any updates on social media?
Yep. So we have created kind of a content calendar to make sure that we're pushing out information. What I'm using, Devin, I don't know if I'm able to share my screen.
I think now.
Oh, perfect. I'm using a platform called Hootsuite, and that has linked our Facebook page, our Instagram account, and our Twitter. And as you can see, I can plan out the content so that things are ready to go out and I don't have to manually do it every day. You know, I can schedule for the whole content calendar or just a week at a time. But for example, tomorrow, we're posting a flyer for Topic Thursday. It's kind of like a save the date and what all of the topics are. And then on Friday, it's going to be directing people to the website to view the newsletter, because newsletters should be in households by Friday. So this is kind of an example of what we're going to be doing to make sure content is automated. It'll go out automatically. And then it's just a full calendar. So it'll make it easier on our end as well.
Yeah, I'm laughing myself over here because I had a tweet set up for the Topic Thursday for this. I haven't finished it yet, and I just have a Twitter on my other computer, and like 3 of the elementary schools have already sent out images on it too. So we're all working on it together here, but I think just continuing to get the message out is great. So thanks.
Exactly, and it's really just making sure that we're, you know, if you see a post from us, just continuously share it and retweet it or like it, and, you know, like just make sure the message is coming out from the building committee, going back to our website, going back to our page, but the message is consistent.
This is Beth. I would just want to reiterate Kat's message about the building committee members and other people involved with the PAC and PTO to also share this stuff on their personal page, just as much as we can get sharing, likes, comments. That's the way Facebook works. The algorithms are brutal. You could put stuff out, you could have 700 people that like your page and 120 people could see it, just through no fault of your own. But because of that disadvantage, it really helps for just people to push it out themselves as much as possible. I can't emphasize that.
Is there a way that we can be, I guess, more customer service oriented with the board, the building committee members? I mean, do you have to actively seek it out? Is there a way of somehow, I don't know, providing the content? I don't know. I'm trying to think about ways in which we make it easy for people to do it.
Oh, to give them a message to include if when they share. Yeah, I've just been kind of keeping it simple, but making it up as I go, or I'll see what Ellen posts and I'll take what
Ellen's
she's
having trouble with Twitter, I can tell you that. I'm working on it.
Yeah,
But
Twitter, I usually
back-
just
back-
hit tweet.
To back up, I think one of the things, and I just did this the other day, I went through on Facebook and I invited I did about 40 invites to Farmington people to have them like the building committee page. So I think that's important to do.
I think if we can be really instructive to the building committee members about, maybe 3 or 4 things they could do to help our social media. And that's one of them. That's key. What Ellen just described going on, just, taking the time. It doesn't take a ton of time, but carving out that time and sit down with your Facebook and invite people to the page, and every day go to the page and see what's good to share.
Or maybe
Yeah,
like
and I
a
would-
little tip sheet.
Yeah. We did create a while ago some social media guidelines, which I think would be important for us to share again, now that we're going to be pushing out much more content. But I think it's going to be interesting if everybody continues to share. We can, from the source, which is our post, we'll be able to see the analytics and we can look at them. I can give an update as to what things are looking like, but I can have an increase in page likes, and I can have, if so many people are sharing our post, that increases our reach, and we can kind of get a gauge as to how many people are seeing our posts. So coming from the source is important.
Yeah.
I think
Kat,
also it might be a good time
Yeah.
for a reminder.
We'll start with Beth.
Now I lost my train. I did lose my train of thought. Oh, so you have a baseline now, kind of, Kat, if we could call it that, right? And then we try to, make a pitch for it tonight, and then you can kind of see if it has any traction and if it helps increase.
Yeah, and we can see what, what posts are more popular, what posts are performing better than others. It'll kind of give us a gauge as to how people prefer our social media interaction to be. So we can start to kind of track those analytics a little bit more closely.
And then if we're making suggestions tonight, and just as far as inviting people to the page, which sounds really simple, and we probably should have done that already, but I do it every so often I think because if people don't like it immediately, you get another chance if you wait a while and you can do it again. But I noticed there were Facebook events now for the neighborhood meetings. So that's another thing to share and invite people to. I think there's both options, right? You can share it to your page, but you could also specifically invite people that you think would be interested. So if they live in that neighborhood or.
Yeah, good point, Beth. That was something I was going to bring up too, is that I created events for each of the individual neighborhood meetings. And then once the topic Thursday kind of save the date flyer comes out, I'll create additional topic Thursday ones. So I'm kind of giving a save the date and then going to follow up for each of the individual ones.
Yeah, and those are great because they give you reminders when they're coming up. If you say that you're interested or going, it's built in. Okay, that was it.
Okay, so maybe we'll go back to, since we're talking about the community events, I would think that the Tall Timbers update would be a lot. It would actually focus on the events. So we have several events coming up, and Meg and Kat can add anything they would like, but we have been meeting. We have different groups who have signed up, or different individuals who have signed up, like administrators here in Farmington, and making sure that we have Board of Ed representation and Town Council representation and PTO representation and even teacher representation as we're presenting not only to the community neighborhood events, but also thinking about our Topic Thursday events as well. So Meg or Kat, do you have any updates related to our very rigorous community event schedule that we have established?
Go ahead, Meg.
Okay, yeah, we have received feedback that the due date is actually by the end of the day today, to have updates from all our partners, as Kathy just mentioned, so that to make sure that we have representation at every single meeting. And we're obviously building the content for all those meetings so that people have talking points and know what information we're sharing. And you know, to make sure that we have consistent messaging and focused messaging at each one of the meetings. So that's underway. We have almost our whole schedule filled at this point. We're just trying to manage through a few conflicts, but very, very few. So it's been wonderful. Everybody's level of engagement, I really appreciate it. I know this is tough. I know this is personal time for everyone. So all of this engagement is, I think, is really going to be critical and is a key part of the success here. And that includes PAC participation. So we've been very engaged in communications with our PAC groups and making sure that they have the information they need, as well as I actually am attending a meeting tomorrow night, Kathy's superintendent forum meeting, to address PTOs and PTO representatives and help explain to them how they can support the effort as well. That's prior to our meeting that we have scheduled. I think it's April 1st, I think, right, is the PTO meeting, which is great. So I think it's all lining up, and we've got the right people, and we'll have the right messaging, which is great. And it's going to be a long haul from here until mid-May. And one thing I do want to acknowledge, and I'll do it again tonight, is I understand that. I appreciate it. I know this is a large commitment, but we've worked so hard to get here. And I think, you know, if we push through to May 11th and then beyond with additional support from our partners, I think we're going to make this happen. So it's a lot of work, but I think we've got the right plan in place.
And one thing just to add is we are refining, like Kathy said, our presentations and our information, and we're going to have information so when you jump into the meeting that you're either the lead on or you're supporting, you'll have everything you need to know about, you know, how it's going to run, what is going to be said, what the presentation will look like. So we're working to prepare all of that as well.
I think just to define that a little bit more, Kat, so everybody's clear, and I think we've discussed this, but the neighborhood meetings are really the same content. So I just want to make sure everybody's clear on that. We're not recreating anything for those, as far as I know, yet. I don't think that, unless we see a gap in a previous meeting that we would need to fill. But really what we're looking at is focusing that neighborhood communication around, you know, your own neighbors. That's why we tried to get people in those meetings that lived in the neighborhoods that we designated. And that's important for people to see that connection and be able to reach out to somebody that, you know, that they might even know that is their actual neighbor. So that's important to understand, that it's not, we're same messaging, we're being delivered in those neighborhoods. And then the topic meetings are going to be very specific as well.
All right. So
build that content, and they'll be a big part of that. Oh, did you lose me?
We lost you.
Lost you for like 10 seconds.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, the internet connection is not the best. So where did I leave off? Just content? I don't think I said anything all that important, but just I just don't want anybody to think that we're there's a lot of meetings on the calendar, but that's a lot of repeat content, is really my point. It's not about, you know, recreating every single meeting. This is delivering the same message over and over and over and over again. And that's the only way this is going to succeed. So just want to make sure I got that point out there.
And I think it's important to note that our first meeting, I think, went well. this was a redo, I guess, or an update, so a little different than maybe it might go with the next meetings coming up. But I think we had some good questions, a good response, and we'll be there for the rest of them. So
I have a question about kind of promotion, I guess you would call it. And I know, Kat, you just set up so much on Facebook, but I'm wondering about people who might want to invite neighbors that could certainly do a Zoom meeting. I mean, I know even clients of the senior center have been doing their activities via Zoom, but neighbors that might not be on Facebook, and that covers really all age groups. So what's the best way to get the word out, both personally and then from the town or the committee to those people? I know we have an email list, but I don't know how active it is.
So we have a MailChimp account that has 300 plus people on the distribution list. We'll be utilizing that. The full schedule with all of the Zoom links are in the newsletter, and that is going to every single household. It's a dedicated page. So I think that's a good way to reach people that may not be on social media or on our email list. So that will be in every household. And then we'll utilize Everbridge, we'll utilize Friday folders, and then really just having people in those neighborhoods help spread the word, because word of mouth on both surveys we've conducted is the most popular way of spreading.
Right. Okay, so for like an email notice, if we were on that Everbridge list or the list from the building committee, that's something we could forward. Yeah, I have we have like a neighborhood email group.
Oh yeah, yeah. So you could forward the MailChimp.
Okay, perfect. I mean, we have a Facebook one too, but I just want to make sure I'm reaching everyone because it's a slightly different group in each.
And maybe, Beth, when you do something like that, you can point them to the newsletter that you received has the full schedule.
Right.
So, this is our neighborhood meeting coming up next Wednesday, but, there's also all of these meetings in case you can't make it.
Right. Okay. Great. And then community Facebook pages, which I know can be tricky, but do we feel like we should be sharing those to Unionville Talks and Talk of Farmington?
Meaning what, Beth? What do you mean sharing
events
to them? I'm going to say no. That's my personal opinion.
Okay.
I don't, somebody can tell me something differently. I don't know, but I would love to have it driven directly from us off as us being a resource. Doesn't mean that people aren't going to do it, but I don't know if it should necessarily come from us.
Right.
To
Gotcha.
do it.
And I totally get that. Just putting it out there.
Yep.
That
No,
also, it sort of gets into what we should be. I don't think we finished the conversation about tonight and social media, what we should remind the building committee of, but back when we started to talk about the first time about communication is that we need to remind the building company that any interaction on social media should be strictly from a building committee member, informational and civil. We have a wealth of information. We have the whole FAQ. And as I think Megan or Kat was saying, it's the same message over and over again, even if we have to say it over and over again, and not to create, I would term them rabbit holes.
Right. Good point, Ellen. And, as if Ira was here, he would say, explain, don't defend. So point back to the website, point to the information. We have all of the answers. It's really just focusing and really, if you directing people to the spot on the website where the information is, a true and trusted source, that's the way to engage people.
To be perfectly honest, and that goes into beyond, because we're also using our personal accounts. If we see something, I'll just use an example. If I ever saw something attached to mine that was distorted or untruthful, I would just delete it. And I think that's okay. Could I just also add to the Comprehensive Farmington had I know it's going to be in our newsletter, but they had, I saw somewhere a one pager of all of the meetings to go through social media. And I thought having all of the meetings on one page would also, not just the newsletter, but do we have some sort of a flyer like that with all of the meetings on it?
Yep, that would be what was the same content that was included in the newsletter. I would take that because it has the meeting information, the Zoom link, the date, it has everything you need on that one page. So that's in the works to be shared.
Perfect.
And the
Yeah,
Zoom links, oh,
No, I'll probably link that, the newsletter to my weekly letter this week. So everyone has access to all the Zoom links for the upcoming community events.
great. And then with the Zoom links, if someone sees that on paper, are they easy enough to type into your browser? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, the PDF of the newsletter is actually, you could click on it and it'll bring you right to the Zoom meeting. So I think that's a good way to share it. If people aren't comfortable with Zoom and don't know how to enter it, if you go into Zoom to enter a meeting and just enter those last, whatever the numbers are, you can join the meeting.
Right.
Maybe we can have a explanation on the website for people that don't know how to join Zoom,
Okay.
of how to do that. Might be a good idea.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Also, is there any chance that we could have something put up in the Farmington Library now that the hours are expanding? Because I think that might reach another audience.
Hmm.
Yep, absolutely. What we can do is print. I think the most important thing is to drive people to the website and encourage people to attend our events. So we could have that one page event list there. I think would probably be the best way to spread the information.
And then I know the patches, it's not what it used to be about with non-productive dialogue. It's really just a good way to announce community events. And I think for people not on Facebook, but who are online, that might be a good option. I'm just throwing that out there. I know the Hartford Current doesn't really do much digitally. I think there's still a way to promote community events through the Hartford Current website, but I haven't done that in a long time. I'm sure it's changed.
I know on the patch you can just upload, like submit your event and it'll show.
Yeah,
up.
very easy.
Yeah.
Okay.
All great ideas. So anything else on Tall Timbers or other updates?
So Ira just texted me to say he's on an emergency call, but said that he would be jumping on with us shortly. So I said I would let everybody know.
Thank you. All right, so to new business, to discuss the communications plan. So I don't know, Kat, are you going to?
Yeah, well, this is just a standing item, just in case we had any additional things we wanted to discuss about the meetings coming up, because that's really the key to our communication is those upcoming meetings. But I think we covered everything unless Meg has anything else or anybody has any other questions or comments around that.
I don't think I have anything in addition. I think we touched, I think we now can see that, tonight, if we put some focus on some social media discussion with the building committee, I think that's going to fill a little bit of a gap that we've identified, which is great. There's nothing that I think is pressing that we haven't discussed other than that.
Kat and gang, I'm sorry, I was on emergency calls, another client that just got off, sorry. I mean, you're all my major clients, but this is something I had to deal with right away, so I apologize for joining late. Is there anything you need me to say that was missed? I'm sure you guys covered everything. I'm familiar. The only thing I'm doing is I'm working on the slide deck for the neighborhood meetings, Kat. And so I'm integrating a lot of stuff that we talked about, so I'm going to get that over to you. It's hard to share with everybody. So I was working on it last night, and there were just some gaps I thought in the beginning. I want to put Kathy's material right up front that she sent. So I'm resequencing it a little bit, and just guys take a look at it, okay? Because I want to make it parallel to the side by side. So this becomes an integrated package. It's so hard to do it. So basically, the slide deck is kind of give the overview, top of mind, and the side by side just makes the case for the new building. And, so there was no way. I was trying to integrate both into one thing, and it would just end up being a 30-minute kind of presentation, which we can, and I thought that would just be too much. So leave kind of each neighborhood we do, who's ever running it can move at their own pace, and that will keep the side by side as a standard amount of time to do it. So I just want to get your, if you're thinking on that, that's, I'm trying to do it so people have all the right information. And Kathy, that information you sent over, those 2 slides were perfect.
Oh, good.
To stick right up front. So I'm rejuggling, I'm sorry, if you don't mind, Kat, because you just sent it around, but it's so hard to share. I was going to put it up on Google Drive, but when you do these slide decks, it's kind of hard to share them.
Oh yeah, no, that's fine. I want to finalize it before we kind of distribute it and make sure it's ready to go. So yeah, just when you have time, we'll work on finishing that up.
Yeah, I'll get it to you actually within an hour or two. I was working on it for quite a while yesterday. I mean, it's a great start, and it was an important conversation we had yesterday for the people who weren't on that call. We wanted to start planning how we're going to do all these neighborhood ones, the topics, and start having some standardized language and messaging that no matter who's presenting or supervising, they just use this information versus wandering down all over the place, and also dealing with some secondary issues that might pop up, like why aren't we renovating the high school, the 1928 building. There's going to be these side things, and what you don't want to do is spend so much time. We want to focus about the future. Everything's about the future with these presentations, and and the rationale for why we're doing it. Otherwise, it just you're just going to go down places that you don't want to go. That this is all again, as you probably heard, this is all about controlling the agenda and the message, and then hopefully then the groups, after it goes to a quiet period, just go and start using it. I did ask, and Kat, thanks for saying that over, to get a list of the actual groups who use the building that are not part of the daily 9-12 classes after school hours. It's been a big help in other districts. We did high schools, who are these groups? They should know about it. You want their endorsements and support. So I assume, Kat, I saw the email there. And I did get one back also. They want more feedback about the auditorium, the music, and a little more about the gymnasium, what the improvements. Kathy, if you have anything, they want me to, I've been looking through the reports when I got that message yesterday from Scott. I don't know if he CC'd you on it, about a little bit more why the acoustics, whatever's going to go on other than the ADA stuff. We felt that was too narrow an issue, even though we want to do it. So that's the only thing I just want to add to your discussion here, though. We're just really refining kind of key points of what's going to go on a new building comparing with the other one. Unless I missed something here, you want to share off hours, Kat or Kathy or Megan, let me know.
No, I think we're in good shape, just finalizing everything.
Definitely. I think it's down to that refinement stage.
Yeah, okay. Again, I apologize for getting on late.
We were able to do all the updates. Ira, you would have been proud of us.
No, it's just, the grandpa here, sleeping a little later than normal. No, just kidding. No, I enjoy you guys are, let me just give you a heads up of the 60 projects I've done over 20 years. You guys are in a perfect place, perfect time. All these presentations, I've never seen arrangement of 16 presentations. And unfortunately, we got to live in a Zoom line, but right now, the most important thing is getting this information out. The newsletter will be getting in the households this weekend with all the lists of the dates. Did you show the newsletter? Should we show them what's on there? Kat, can I do that?
Devin could probably pull it up. He has
Devin,
control of the
can you
screen.
pull it up and show the calendar listings? So give you guys a heads up. Since hardly any you see, it's gonna be posted on the website.
It's up there, Ira.
Excuse me?
We posted the website, the newsletter.
Okay. We're updating up there, which we want to focus on local news right up front. Sticking with what we want the website to be, which is more of a newspaper approach. Whatever is new and coming is always going to be posted right up front. And Dev and I are going to work on that on a really daily basis to pay attention, what has to be updated and what can be followed. All right, so it's a quick tour of this, if you don't mind. So here's the statement here. Some of you have seen this already. We want to give a context where the building's going to be. status of 28 building. The most important thing was I called voter registration over there. There's still a lot of people who moved to town haven't registered. I assume it's young parents, so we want to get that message out, make sure they go and register. Yeah, you don't have to read it right now. Just go ahead, next page. Just want to show you what's on it. This is a highlight of the survey, which I thought the most important things. The feedback I'm getting most of is on here. The response 65 and older made up 45% of respondents, but only make up 17% of the town population. And they should share that with PTOs. It's a shame so few parents responded back to the survey. This is again talking about, we wanted to visually show what the estimated tax would be on the average cost of a home of $324,000. And so we wanted to show a cross-section of as much as possible, a generic cross-section. That's technology, work out stuff that might be going on in a typical house. So always good to have a graphic kind of later came. We didn't want to use a photograph of a house because some said that's not my house. So you always want to keep these kind of images generic. Next one. These are enrollment projections. It's always good to show a chart where it goes up, even though it looks minimal here. So we wanted to focus on that. So a lot of districts are actually going down, but Farmington's going up. And so, you know, 131 students is a lot. You know, when you're talking, what's around $30,000 a student, Kathy, if not more later on, you're talking some serious money, $4 or $5 million more that might have to go into it. Okay, so that gives that chart. All right, this is the one here. It's on in the newsletter. This is listing all the meetings, public meetings, and the URLs. If people get it in paper, will have to re-enter it, but we're telling people to go to the website. You know, they can then click on it and it'll automatically take them during that time. We assume they'll go on. We didn't put in, please do in 5 minutes early. We're also not allowing face visits and all chats. We're not going to have people having a dialogue. We're going to ask people to submit questions in writing. And so that means the moderator can control it. And so whoever we're signing from the building committee, Meg, they're actually acting as the moderator. So when questions come in, they can submit it to whoever the appropriate person. It could be a board of ed, it could be whatever. That's why it's good to have that kind of group on there that represents the whole town. So that's the way it's going to be. So it's moderated and people can participate, but it's going to be a Q&A. But not a video dialogue. The only videos I assume will be showing is just the people who are representing the different groups in town. So this is the way it's going to be. It goes all the way to May 5th. So again, this will be in every household, probably from Saturday till next Tuesday. And then there's going to be one more newsletter, which is really not going to be a newsletter. It's going to be an infographic. It's actually a poster. That's going to be 18 by 24. That's going to take us completely through the new high school, what it, you know, schematically what it's going to look like. It's kind of like a journey, you know, it's like you follow the trail. This is what this is going to do and break it out with information. And then parents can sit down in elementary school and go through with their kids and saying, here's what you're going to be going into. So that's probably the plan going forward all the way up to referendum posting. So I just want to give you all a highlight how we see this playing out. And again, as many people as we can to get to these meetings and participate. And that'll be, you know, minimize the nonsense talk. Thank you, Kat. Thank you, Devin. I don't know if anyone has any questions about it, but if you go online, you can see it on, you know, now we just showed to you, but you're going to get it in your households. And we ordered an extra 250, Megan, Kat, and Kathy, just in case people, you can leave them at each of the three, leave them at your two places, the town hall and the board of the board in town hall and at the high school. And it's different, you know, people want it, you know, they say I didn't get it. I talked to the post office, it was 99.5% delivery. So people would say they didn't get it, they probably threw it out by mistake, or then they look at it as junk mail. It's pretty typical. I'd estimate probably 5%. Just didn't even see what it was.
Ira, this is Ellen. Was the date on there of the referendum or was it just the June? I couldn't really see it.
No, we did not put on this one. The next newsletter will have all that information. since the
Yes,
town
I
did
do.
not. Kat, you want to answer that? We literally did not put it on because we don't know.
Right, and it's usually when we put it on the next one, because it'll probably be before it's officially set, we would put it as tentative date for June 3rd. Just because it'll be May 11th that the town council sets it.
Yeah, we did put it, we did put it in the copy.
Yeah, it says early June. It
Yeah.
doesn't say the
We just
exact
said
date.
early June. We just, we can't jump the gun and do it when technically and legally the town council hasn't authorized it. But the assumption being if everything falls in place, they will go ahead and do it. So that's why all this is being done right now.
I had a question, Kat, and it's only because my mother lives here now in, one of the senior housing facilities. So she has her own mailing within that facility. So does every resident in those facilities get a copy of the newsletter? Or is it just one goes to that particular address? It's just,
I think it would be to every mailing address.
okay.
In the town. We run a PO count and we update it when we send out things because things shift, every time we send out a newsletter. So I think she should get it.
Okay.
Piggybacking on that, we are doing we're having 2 meetings with seniors. So we're creating a specific flyer for them and starting to put it and advertise, excuse me. We're also going to be giving that flyer to Westerly Anthology, all of the housing facilities that we have in town, Maple Village as well, so that they can join the meeting. It's all on Zoom, but Nancy Parent at the Senior Center is also going to allow for some seniors to come to the center and be able to social distance and project it on the screen. So that would be limited attendance, but for those that aren't tech savvy, it's an option as well.
Let me ask you, Kat, how many centers are there or living places, assisted living in Farmington? I forgot to look that up.
There's got to be 7.
Yeah, I would 5 to 7 off the top of our heads.
Are they isolated inside the facility as much as, I assume most of them got both shots already?
No.
Or they
A
have?
lot of them, depending.
But I wanted to bring this up because I think Nancy Parent and the connection with the senior center is great. And those are mostly seniors who live on their own, who participate in the senior center activities.
Right.
And what I've found is that the senior housing places, these private places, tend to provide everything the residents there could need. And they like to keep them kind of contained for their recreation activities. So they typically don't have a lot of connection, if any, with the senior center.
Right.
So I'm glad to hear we're going to be getting flyers out. I wonder I don't know if we have the resources to do this, but they could probably project the way Nancy's going to do. They have conference rooms and there's a theater over at.
Yes, that's what we were thinking, exactly. In their common room or whatever, that they can have the information, the stream of the meeting so that it's available.
Let me ask
That would
you.
take some
And
connection.
they have every week, just because I know this a little more now, but they have an activity schedule. And if we can get that meeting on an activity schedule, you'll get a lot more residents going to it, learn about our proposed new high school in Farmington. And there's a lot of participation in the activities. And actually, I keep track of the ones my mom goes to. So I do know, like they actually do keep track of all of that. So we'd even get that information, at least with the facility that she's in. But you're absolutely right, Beth. They have like actual spaces that they can gather. And I know at least in the one my mom's in, everyone's fully vaccinated. So.
Kathy, or does anyone know, or Beth, are there any retired teachers in any of these facilities that taught in Farmington?
It's possible. I don't know.
Wow.
Yeah,
You
it's
know,
possible.
I don't know if he's a supporter, but I've met a former town council chair, I believe, who's at Middlewoods. So whenever we're campaigning and
Well, I'll tell you what's helped, because we've done these senior centers over the years, or before this. If there's someone in there who's a real advocate for this, and as you're presenting it, if there's someone in there saying, you know what, this is really going to be good for future generations, your grandkids, or you live in town.
Right.
having an advocate in each of those places that's comfortable in front of, after you do the presentations, it's like pure lobbying. That
I
really
don't
would
know
be
how
some
we could
help.
find that out, but we could certainly, I think, maybe Kathy Greeter and we can just try to talk amongst our networks and see if people know of people or neighbors who are there. But I did want to pitch something similar for these senior meetings, and that would be a community, well-known senior citizen who could kind of be a ambassador for the project. And I'm thinking of B. Stockwell to maybe kind of be on the speaker side, just talk about what it means for that population and the community from a senior perspective.
I
So
spoke with her yesterday,
we're working that out.
and I was going to speak with Megan, and I've given her the dates of both of and she's good on a computer. I've given her the dates, and she wants more than anything to be there. And I think the word ambassador for this project is perfect. And she's very well known, and people trust her and listen to her. So
Yes.
I think that she'll be at both meetings, and she'll be
Oh, that's
wonderful.
great. I think that's huge. Irish,
If that's okay.
Yeah.
I didn't talk to Megan yet.
Yeah, sorry, I might have jumped the gun, but I really.
No, that's perfect. I think it's fantastic. Thank you guys for doing that.
Yeah, one more thing. We did one in Southbury, the regional school district there, and Heritage Village is jumbo activity.
Yes.
And we had ambassadors, Ellen, as you mentioned, in there who had kids in town or multi-generational. It made a huge difference. They actually voted for a large, referendum for the high school and other projects because we spent so much time over at Heritage Village, or they did, where the superintendent board members, they just went over there because Middlebury was against this and Southbury was a bigger town than doing it. But we eventually got some Middlebury ones here. So it makes a big difference on, having people who were in there pointing out the family multi-generational need. That simple message would be a big help if you can identify more of these people, these places. Just even having equal votes would make it, or equal support would be a big difference.
Yeah, and the other thing that comes up in these facilities is there is some, turnover. It can be, lots of new people, particularly with the newer facilities coming in, and they're not necessarily know how to register to vote or change their address. There could be a lot of people that have moved in the past few months since the November election. So we might get questions about that.
Does the registered voters have any program to reach out, Beth, to those groups?
I'm sorry?
When someone moves to town, is there some method? Some towns have an outreach program for new residents. They go to the real estate people.
Not that I'm aware of.
Or is there a way that the director of each of these centers say, hey, do you have any new residents that we should know about? Make sure they're registered.
I think they do. I think our registrar of voters, I think I think they do get a listing of new residents. I don't know what they do with it if it's that active, but potentially it might be a good idea just to, at all of these meetings, just as an agenda item to remind all residents, not just seniors, to register to vote. That might be a good soundbite.
Yeah, I think your young parents who move there or whatever are so busy with their lives.
Yep.
We noticed they're the least registered, the ones that need a real program to reach out and make sure whatever, I don't know if it's 2 weeks, a week, each town does it differently. I don't know if there's a state ruling anymore overrides the towns. And I can't remember. I have to look up the election laws regarding it because they change it all the time. Because with the last one, you actually a day before you can register because of the COVID crisis.
Mm. Yeah, we'd have to look into that. I would just say that for people who are fine online, it's so easy now to go on and change your registration, update your registration on the Secretary of State's website. So that might be a link we want to include in the presentation, or just tell people to search for that if they're new, and that they do need to update their address, even if they just moved from West Hartford. That needs to be in order before they can vote.
I know this is really nitty gritty stuff, but at the end of the day, it makes a big difference. And Kathy, I think I was just thinking about, is everyone getting the newsletter at each of these retirement places? Is there a way do we have the names or addresses, Meg, of the directors of these facilities to make sure they're delivered or they're getting them, because it's possible that they lump them in a pile. Each mail delivery, depending on, because of COVID, they might not be able to go inside. Not quite sure their policy, the post office, but we should double check with the directors at each of these facilities to make sure people who are living there are getting these newsletters.
Yeah,
So-
we could always drop some off and too, if that is the case. I know for the place that my mom's in, she does get mail. So I actually saw a Mike D'Amico flyer in her room. So I know she does receive the mailing. So
Kathy,
I think each gets a newsletter, but I wasn't sure on our side.
Kathy, where your mom is, do they have do they have their own post office, their own mailbox?
Yes, because she receives bills and things.
Yeah, so
it
it
should,
works.
should.
It works the same way as in a house. So everybody, I don't believe that the directors can receive mail and then distribute it, right? Because it's the post office has to make sure it gets to a locked box where the resident or an aide, right, can pick up their mail and deliver it. Success with some of these things pre-COVID, where we've seen the candidates running for office or whatever might come in and speak to residents, where you used to be able to be in front of a group or to talk about a project or what's up and coming. Serve some ice cream and have have something other than the event to come down to, and you'll get a large group. And they used to literally have tables outside the hallway with absentee ballots that they could fill out and sign, get their absentee vote, because they're not going to get in their cars and drive to vote. And the facility may or may not offer transportation to residents to vote for something like this. I think a big draw or something that might resonate with those folks are a lot of these high school, I don't know about Farmington high school kids, but in other facilities, high school kids, especially over the summer, tend to work in the dining facility. They're serving mom and dad, they're serving their wait staff, their part-time staff there, and the residents get to know and love them, right? Because they see them every day. And so if there's a way to say that this is important to these kids that are serving you, that resonates with them, that touches them. So I don't know, just some of the things that I know, might be touch points that will pull on their heartstrings a little bit to want to vote for this.
Okay, one more thing, Scott, I was going to ask you this, is that it's my understanding there's a lot of recent graduates, freshmen and sophomore, who are living in town because of distance, at least to the end of this year, where they are not going to go back to UConn or local places. Is there any way to reach out? Do you have those mailings? Or I know we got to be careful here, but it might be a good way for them to get engaged, saying, hey, you should be aware of this. Or are you, number one, are you registered to vote? Is there some campaign that you do in the high school where they register to vote when they turn 18?
Yes, we do. So that's organized through our student activities, and that'll be occurring in the next month before before this happens. So we have that, and then I meet regularly with our director of student activities. We have a meeting scheduled for Friday. So certain groups like both our assistant principal, who is the former director of student activities, and our current director of student activities stay pretty closely engaged with like our class officers and things like that have graduated. And so, we plan to inform them of the work. They were actively involved last year prior to COVID as well. So we'll notify them, and in my, obviously we can't tell them what to do. My inclination is that they'll activate their social media networks and things like that as well.
So we can send or link them at least to the newsletter and the website. Is that minimally what we can do right now?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
That's totally.
Now we talked about the retirement communities. Let's talk about the recent graduates who are, many of them living in town. My understanding, Kathy, do they stay in touch? Because they're staying in town? Are they? I mean, they don't go to high school, but they might be involved much more in social media.
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Hey guys, I apologize. I need to jump off.
Okay,
But
again,
thank you. I'll see you guys tonight. Anything else
All
you
right,
need
see you
from
later.
me? I don't.
Nope, I think we're good.
Okay.
Thanks, Mark.
Great. Thanks.
okay, Mark.
Yeah, so
I do-
we're getting to about an hour, so we probably should finish up. So Kat, did you have something?
Yeah, I just see that Marcus has his hand up.
Hey, guys, real quick, two things. One about voting. I've been in contact with the Registrar of Voters office. There is no provision for same day registration on the day of a referendum. However, so you need to be registered a week before. And there you can request an absentee ballot at any time, but provided that the June 3rd date sticks, the ballots would physically be available on the 13th of May. So 2 days after the town council signs off on everything. So for what it's worth, there's that. There's also a provision for non-residents who own property in town, taxable property in town, to be able to vote in a referendum. So there's a lot of information from the Registrar of Voters office that is very relevant to this particular election. And I would encourage the committee to be in contact with the registrar's office and to make that information readily available on the website. And related to that, this March newsletter is jam-packed full of really good information. And I'm wondering if some of it can end up not just in a PDF that's a little bit buried on the site, but if you could bring it up to maybe like an FAQs thing, like the enrollment information is really good information to have. And I'm wondering if that might be able to go into the FAQs along with information about voting as well. So just, you have the information, and I'm sure there's a plan to make it easier to find on the website, but I think that would be a good thing to do if we can.
We put it on, it's in the slide deck already that we're working on, Marcus, with Kat and the crew. Is that we put that information in, and so it'll be part of the presentation to all 16 presentation. I mean, all the ones where community outreach.
Yeah, that's good. And I think it would be good to have a way for other groups and other people to be able to point to the building committee website and say, that information is right here. You don't have to dig for it. So if we had like direct links to the enrollment projections, or instead of having say, it's in this slide deck, go through the slide deck, which is useful. But if there's a specific place, like this is the link that goes right to the enrollment projections, or this is the link that goes right to the voting information. I think that would be helpful to have.
Thank you. So any other items before we adjourn? Okay, can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion, Ellen.
Second,
Seconded, Sharon.
all in favor?
Aye.
Bye.
All right, thank you all so much. This was a lot of information, but I feel like we're really moving forward on so many of the items that we had started to plan for so many months ago. So thank you, everyone. Have a great day and see you tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.